safemusiclist.com, royalty-free music for marketing and promotional videos.
A very wonderful morning to you out there. You're welcome to your darling program, Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio. We are transmitting from the GSM studio at the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, Secretariat Agodi, Ibadan. Today, Friday, 20th of May, 2022. I am Olukemi Omotosho, and I have with me the Nigerian Tribune and the Nation newspaper. The first story I'm going to read is from the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. It says, primaries, APC, PDP in states quakes. And writer says, aspirants adamant over zoning arrangement, rumpus over delegates list, Obaseki, Obi, Campsfield over different court orders, aspirants protest in Benue, Plateau, Ogun, Ondo, Kaduna, uncertainty in Anambra, APC. Those can be found on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. Another story says, El Rufai confirms presence of Ansaru terrorists in Kaduna, and families of abducted passengers kicked against resumption of train service. That can be found on page 23 of the Nigerian Tribune. Tambuwa blames Jonathan over failure to restructure Nigeria. That can be found on page 19, still on Nigerian Tribune. A newly promoted Magu has already retired Police Affairs Minister with a rider community policing on course, he says. And Customs begins VIN implementation for imported vehicles today. Okada ban, June 1st, deadline won't stop enforcement, Lagos government. That can be found on page 29 of the Nigerian Tribune. Oshu polls, I have no money for private jets or to buy votes, Oyetola. And the writer says, I am endowed with capacity to lead, he says. And I have another story that says, FCT ministers closes day market indefinitely. 4 confirmed dead. That can be found on page 28 of the Nigerian Tribune. Supreme Court joins Rivers in Buhari's suit against Section 84, subsection 12 of Electoral Act to air suit May 26th. That can be found on page 19 of the Nigerian Tribune. Going to the Nation newspaper, I have the first story that says, pressure on APC governors over tickets for senators, reps, with a rider intrigues threatens pact in some states. And another one says, El Rufai 6 wiping out of communities on Kaduna-Abuja highway. 360 killed, 1,389 kidnapped in 3 months. That can be found on the front page of the Nation newspaper. And I have another one that says, Tinubu to Bauchi delegates, with you I will win. That can be found on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. Another one says, Salami panels reports on Magu stalled 2 years after. That can be found on page 25 of the Nation newspaper. Another one says, many Okada riders are criminals. CP alleged with a rider, Lagos steps up ban enforcement. That can be found on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Another one says, IPOP to Kumuyi, no crusade. That can be found on page 25 of the Nation newspaper. And still on politics, Ekiti 2022, SDP, APC disagree over attack on Oni's running mate. Ex-chairman predicts landslide victory for APC. And another writer says, I will restore lost glory in education, says PDP candidate. This can be found on page 28 of the Nation newspaper. With all those writers, another one says, Buhari in UAE. That can be found on page 22. Another one says, my achievements will give me re-election, says Oyetola. Let's go on a short break to be back for the details of the newspaper. Thanks and stay tuned.
ọgbà tí àṣejiná lòdì ìrànjẹ́ làwọn aláṣẹ ìjókòtì tí wọ́n fẹ́ máa jẹ. ọba ni wọ́n ó ṣe gàyà díẹ̀ ná. ìlú ló láṣẹ, ẹjẹ́ ìlú ó jẹun náà. ìdí nìyí tó fi jẹ́ pé ẹ̀tọ́ ìlú là ń fowó ìlú ṣe nípìnlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́. ẹ rí bí ní ètò ẹ̀kọ́ wa ṣe ń jògeere. LAUTECH ti di tìpínlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́. ilé ìwòsàn alábọ́dé bíi 40 ló ti wẹ̀wọ̀ ọ̀tun pẹ̀lú àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ tòun tòògùn àti irinṣẹ́ tó pójú owó. iṣẹ́ sì ti fẹ́ẹ̀ parí pẹ̀lú lórí 100 míì jákèjádò ìpínlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́. ààbò tó dájú òun ohun amáyédẹrùn ní ìṣokùnfà ìdásílẹ̀ iléeṣẹ́ ńláńlá láwùjọ. òun náà nípínlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́ fi wà nípò kẹta nínú àwọn ìpínlẹ̀ tí ń pawó wọlé jùlọ lábẹ́lé nílẹ̀ wa. ọ̀pọ̀ ọ̀dọ́ ló ti láǹfààní ẹ̀kọ́ṣẹ́ iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ lọ́nà ti gbàlódé. táṣeyọrí yìí ó sì jẹ́ kó ń jẹ́ sùn wá bọ̀ láìpẹ́ nípínlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́. àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ àtòṣìṣẹ́ fẹ̀yìntì ń gbowó wọn lásìkò. pápá àṣírí adámàsìngbà àtàwọn inú ojú pópó tí ń sòrú dọ̀sán ń kọ́. àwọn ìlú ti sọ pásì ìwádùn níṣèjọba yìí fi ń mọrírì gbogbo àwọn aláṣẹ. gómìnà Ṣèyí Mákindé ló ń sọ fún wa pé pẹ̀lú ìṣọ̀kan wa oòrùn tó kù lókè yìí ó táṣọ ọgbẹ.
iléeṣẹ́ ètò ìròyìn àṣà ohun ìrìn àjò afẹ́ tìpínlẹ̀ ọ̀yọ́ ló ń kéde.
You're welcome back to Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio. We are transmitting from GSM studio at the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, Secretariat Agodi, Ibadan. The first story I'm going to read in full is from the Nigerian Tribune and is taken from page 8. It says, primaries, APC, PDP in states quakes. With few days to the primaries of the political parties to pick their governorship candidates, deep-seated resentment is raging among the major actors in the All Progressive Congress, APC, and main opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, over accusations of manipulation of the process that will throw up standard bearers across states. Other critics, stakeholders in the parties are at dagger drawn with state governors who have been accused of subverting the election of delegates to determine the fate of array of contenders for the governorship tickets at the primaries next week. These are discord tunes in both parties over the conduct of ward elections to pick 5 delegates from each wards for governorship primaries and 3 delegates for the presidential convention. APC has rescheduled its governorship primary for May 27th, while that of the PDP will hold on May 25 across the state, while the 2023 general election will hold. Omagege others in Battle Royal in Delta. Obaseki flex muscles in Edo. Uneasy calms in Ogun. Alaka withdraws from senatorial race. Those can be found on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. For the details, turn to page 8. Primaries, APC, PDP in state quakes. And still on the Nigerian Tribune, on page 11 I have newly promoted Magu as already retired federal government, and the writer says state police don't need to bear arms to fight crime. Community policing on course, it declares. Former acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ibrahim Magu, retired before being upgraded to the rank of Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG, this week. Minister of Police Affairs, Maigari Dingayidi, disclosed this while appearing at the ministerial media chat organized by the Presidential Communication Team at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, on Thursday. The former anti-graft agency boss had been investigated on corruption allegations by a presidential panel headed by Justice Ayo Salami, whose 2020 report is yet to be released. However, the Police Service Commission, PSC, listed his name this week as one of the newly promoted AIGs. When asked why Magu was promoted despite being accused of corruption, the minister said it was the responsibility of the PSC, which is under the presidency, to provide the answer. But he affirmed that Magu has already retired, noting that being retired will not preclude him from any disciplinary measures should the need arise. For the rest of that story, you can turn to page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune. Newly promoted Magu has already retired federal government. And still on page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune, El-Rufai confirms presence of Ansaru terrorist groups in 2 local governments. Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State has confirmed the presence of Ansaru terrorist group in 2 local government areas of the state. He said the dreaded group are in Birin Gwari and Giwa local government areas of the state. According to him, 2 recruits Ansaru members from Giwa local government area recently posted their pictures to their friends on the social media, and we are even pleading with their friends to join the group. He also said the government was in possession of a video where the group was seen celebrating the Eid al-Fitr in Birin Gwari local government area. The governor spoke during the presentation of the first quarter security report presented by the Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, at the council's chambers on Thursday. He expressed his worries over the escalation of the rising presence of Ansaru and Boko Haram terrorists in the state. The governor disclosed that from intelligence reports gathered, the terrorists have said the forests in the northwest are easier and better for them to operate than Sambisa. For the rest of that worrisome story, you can turn to page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune. El-Rufai confirms presence of Ansaru terrorist groups in 2 local governments. And I have another one that says, Akeredolu commends Bauchi governor for identifying with Amotekun restructuring. The chairman of the Southern Governors Forum, SGF, and Odo State Governor, Mr. Rotimi Akeredolu, has commended the Bauchi State Governor, Dr. Bala Muhammad, for identifying with the vision of the Southwest governors on their resolve to tackle insecurity in the local way. Akeredolu, who stated this in a statement personally signed by him, also commended the Bauchi governor for his courage to be on the side of the truth despite the political differences, saying, and I quote, "This conduct is exemplary, and his ability to identify issues of development and capacity to tackle same mark out genuine leaders." The Ondo State governor also saluted Mahamadu for his bold declaration that there can be no advancement unless there is restructuring, urging aspiring politicians to use public office to always have a clear vision of ways to solve socio-economic problems. For the rest of that story, you can turn to page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune. Akeredolu commends Bauchi governor for identifying with Amotekun restructuring. And I have this on IBOP. Delta placed security agencies on red alert. Delta state government has placed all security agencies in the state on red alert following the hideous activities of indigenous people of Biafra, IBOP, in recent times. Commissioner for Information, Mr. Charles Aniago, who disclosed this while briefing newsmen on the outcome of the state executive council meeting at Asaba on Thursday, said the federal government should have handled these issues of the agitators more maturely. He said, and I quote, "Let me assure you that the security agencies have been placed on red alert to ensure that our people go about their businesses legally and lawfully. Nobody is happy about what is happening in the southeast because it is affecting the economy, and so we are appealing to those asking people to stay at home to look for other means of agitating for the release of their leader, Nnamdi Kanu." End of quote. For the rest of that story, still turn to page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune. IBOP, Delta places security agencies on red alert. And from the front page of the Nation newspaper, I have the story. El-Rufai seeks wiping out of communities on Kaduna-Abuja highway. Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai yesterday proposed the clearance of Katari, Rijana, and Akilibu communities along the Kaduna-Abuja highway. He said they harbor criminals and informants. The governor received the first quarter 2022 security report, which says 360 persons were killed and 1,389 others killed, kidnapped in the state between January and March. He said there was intelligence that Boko Haram, ISWAP, and Ansaru terrorists were recruiting Kaduna youths. He said terrorists who relocated to Kaduna from the northeast reportedly said that Kaduna forests are better than Sambisa. For the rest of that story, you can turn to the front page of The Nation and page 5 of The Nation newspaper. El-Rufai seeks wiping out of communities on Kaduna-Abuja highway. And I have another one that says most Okada riders are criminals, says Lagos CP. 24 hours after Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu announced a total ban of commercial motorcycles in 6 councils and 9 development areas of the state, Commissioner of Police Abiodun Alabi warned that violators of the ban will be prosecuted in mobile courts. Speaking, he said there were plans to create mobile courts to prosecute violators of the directive, including passengers. Alabi said the police have come up with strategies and tactics to enforce the directives. He said, and I quote, "There is a plan for a kind of mobile court where offenders can be tried. Wherever you are arrested, whether you are the rider or the passenger, you will be charged expressly," he said. Over time, people have been enforcing it, but they did not do it in a holistic manner. We are going to look into the intensity of the enforcement and also change our strategies and statistics. We will ensure that the law is enforced to the letter. Most Okada riders are criminals, says Lagos CP. Turn to page 2 for the rest of that story. And on page 4 of the Nation newspaper, I have this story that says pressure on APC governor over tickets for senators. All Progressive Congress APC governors are under pressure to respect an understanding with their party and National Assembly leadership to give automatic 2023 return tickets to some senators and House of Representative members. Those being proposed to return automatically are lawmakers rated to have performed very well. Primaries for senatorial and House of Representatives will hold on May 26 and May 27. Senate President Ahmad Lawan and House Speaker Femi Gbadabiamila at last month's meeting of the National Executive Council (NEC) demanded a fair share of slots for credible lawmakers. For the rest of that story, you can turn to page 4 from the front page and page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Pressure on APC governors over tickets for senator reps. And I have another one that says a touch of madness needed to rule Nigeria, says Obasanjo. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo yesterday said he has no apology for being mad and passionate about Nigeria. Passion means madness. That you are mad about Nigeria, I am, and I have no apology for that because I have no other country I can call my own, Obasanjo told People's Democratic Party presidential aspirant Muhammadu Hayatuddin. Hayatuddin was at the ex-president Obasanjo's presidential library home in Abeokuta, Ogun State, as part of his countrywide consultation. Obasanjo said, and I quote, "I have no other country I can go to and say that yes, I have come to live here. Passion means being mad about Nigeria, having a touch of madness." The ex-president listed 4 factors responsible for the deficiency of the socio-economic and political development of the country. According to him, the 4 factors are lack of passion, vision, innovation, and knowledge. On security, Obasanjo maintained that Nigeria can overcome its numerous challenges with the right leaders who will be willing to make tough decisions. He called on Nigerians to be ready to make sacrifices to put the country back on the right path. For the rest of that story, you can turn to page 4 of the Nation newspaper. A touch of madness needed to rule Nigeria, says Obasanjo. And I have another one that says, Customs set to introduce unified charges for vehicles. The Nigerian Customs Services (NCS) said yesterday that it has put all necessary and required logistics in place that will make importers and clearing agents pay a unified and simplified charges based on the new Vehicle Identification Number (VIN) valuation system to be introduced by the service on Monday. Addressing stakeholders in Apapa Custom Command, the NSC Controller of Valuation, Controller Anthony Udeze, said the service would commence the implementation of the new VIN valuation system that will be acceptable globally by next week. He noted that the new VIN valuation system considered all options, including accidented vehicles and salvaged vehicles, were all built in, even as uniformity in valuation for all the area commands has also been achieved by the service. The new VIN valuation system, Udeze revealed, will boost trade facilitation program for the federal government through the unification and simplification of value to be paid by importers and clearing agents to the government through the service. For the rest of that story, you can turn to page 7 of the Nation newspaper. Customs set to introduce unified charges for vehicles. And the last story for today will be taken from page 25. It says 2 years after Salami's report on Magu still being considered, the Minister of Police Affairs Muhammadu Dingi Yadi has said the report of the Justice Ayo Salami-led panel on Ibrahim Magu, former acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), is still under consideration. He spoke yesterday at a news briefing organized by the Presidential Communication Team at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Dingi Yadi said the recent promotion of Magu to the rank of an Assistant Inspector General of Police came after his retirement. The Police Service Commission (PSC) on Monday approved the promotion of the former EFCC boss just about when his retirement from the Nigerian Police was due, having turned 60 on May 5. Magu had been investigated by the presidential panel headed by Justice Salami, which has submitted its report, which is recommended the retirement of Magu in 2020. For the rest of that story, turn to page 25 of the Nation newspaper. And kidnapped victims' family kicks against planned train service resumption. Families and friends of the ill-fated Abuja-Kaduna train attack have warned the Nigerian Railway Corporation (NRC) not to dare their patience over the planned resumption of train services on the Abuja-Kaduna route. They said unless their beloved ones were rescued on earth by the authorities, they would resist an attempt to resume the train service. The families demanded the sack of the management of the NRC for their gross incompetence. They claimed that the managing director, Mr. Fidet Okiara, lied when he said he had been in contact with the families of the victim. Speaking on behalf of the victim's family, Dr. Abdulfatai Jimo, the chairman, told reporters at a media briefing in Kaduna yesterday that it was unfortunate that 52 days after the abduction of their beloved ones, all the NRC was interested in was the resumption of train services. He described the move of the NRC as most insensitive, considering that 61 victims of the train attacks were still languishing in the kidnappers' den. For the rest of that story, you can turn to page 25 of the Nation newspaper. Kidnapped victims' families kicked against planned train service resumption. And that has brought us to the end of today's newspaper review. Please join us on Monday morning for another fresh edition. Thanks for listening and have a wonderful weekend. I am Olukemi Omotosho.